welcome back to my channel. It is everybody's favorite day, my favorite day too. It is time for the fall edition of playing Library Card. Library Card is my TBR game that I play seasonally, and well, I didn't do very good for summer, let's just say that. I did not win, I did not complete my TBR, so let's just kind of quickly recap what I did and didn't read. So for the summer edition of Library Card, I had a total of 14 books, including a late fine assignment. So let's just quickly go down the list. For a mystery with 300 to 400 pages, I had, I don't know where I should be holding these, I actually can't see where the camera is pointing. So Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens, and I did read this. For a romance with an illustrated spine, I had Shark Heart by Emily Habeck, and I did read this. For suspense with an even number of pages, I had Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter, and I did read this. For a classic over 900 pages, I pulled Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell, but ended up swapping this one for Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes, and I didn't end up reading either of these books, obviously. I read the first 75 pages of this one, but just was really not into it, so I soft DNF'd it. For a sci-fi, did I not write down? I didn't write down the other part of the prompt. I think it was a sci-fi with a one-word title, was Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer, and I did read this. For a classic published before 1990, I read The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. For a historical fiction with a new-to-me author, I chose The Deep by Alma Katsu, but could not get into this book and ended up swapping it out for something I didn't end up reading anyway, and that was Snowflower and the Secret Fan by Lisa C. So this is still a TBR vet for me. It has been on my TBR, I think, since 2012-ish. Eventually, I will get to this one. For a realistic fiction with trees on the cover, I read To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I did read this. For a crime book with a weapon on the cover, I had originally chosen Confessions of a Serial Killer, The Untold Story of Dennis Rader by Katherine Ramsland. But one chapter into this book, I was super grossed out. I'll be unhauling this one. I switched this one out for Butcher by Joyce Carol Oates, and I did read that. For fairy tales and folklore with a whale on the cover, I have Reclaim the Stars, which I am actually still in the process of reading, but am not enjoying and am only finishing out of obligation. For a series written by a male author, I read Season of Storms by, I never say this name, Andrzej Sapkowski, I think, and I did read this. For a historical fiction with a map, I picked The Judas Blossom by Stephen Aryan, and I have not read this. It's going to go back on my TBR. Not like my active list, but it's going back on the shelf. Didn't get around to that one. Samesies for South of the Buttonwood Tree by Heather Weber, which was magical realism with a brown cover. I didn't get to this one either. And then for my late fine, which was my late fine I had to pay was to randomly add a book, use a generator to add a book, and I used my trusty TBR jar, which pulled, I don't know if you could see that, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, and that's by Mark Twain, and I did finish that one. So I didn't do the worst, but I definitely didn't win. So sad for me that I have to pull yet another late fine. So let's just start there. Actually, before I do that, there, of course, as always, have been changes to the board and to the game. I bought these poker-sized cards and put all my prompts on them. There are some new ones, some old ones mixed in there, but that way I could at least shuffle these. With the other ones being like half laminated like this and half unlaminated, I just couldn't shuffle them and it was driving me crazy. So I switched to these pokerish cards instead, which I much prefer being able to actually handle them without the whole stack falling over. And then to the board itself, I have taken the crime space off the board. Those have been replaced by reference. Now, by reference, I don't mean I'm going to read a dictionary. I mean, that is going to send me to the reference desk, quote unquote, which is my TBR jar. So basically, reference means to refer my buns to my TBR jar. I will be pulling something randomly. I just really wanted to utilize my TBR jar a little bit more. So that I'm going to be doing. I feel like I did something else. I did something else too. I don't remember what it was. I don't remember what else I did, but I did do it. So if you notice it, comment down below because I don't remember. I play this game in my off time, like in between filming videos, just for funsies, like just to make fake TBRs for fun. And I make changes as I go, but I should really write them down. My bad. Let's go ahead and take my punishment. What shall that be? Well, this one doesn't matter anymore. I need new. Take the number of current squares and divide by 2 and go to unit space. So this one I need to throw away because it doesn't apply to this game anymore the way it used to. I need new punishments and rewards. I need ideas. You guys drop me comments. Let me know what I should add because this obviously isn't going to work. Next. Go backwards again. Return 1 book club perk. I don't have any of those. Add 1 book to your TBR. I feel like that's the only one I ever end up being able to use. So we will do that. I will pull randomly at the end, I think. I think that's what I normally feel like doing. So add 1 book to your TBR is what we will do. And as always, we start... Oh, by the way, Grumpy Ghost says hello. He's still grumpy. I didn't finish my TBR. We'll start with our 5-card draw. Has a city, state, or country in the title. Has a pretty cover. We like that one. Has a black cover, easy for spooky season. Has a green cover. I do have some of those. And published before 1900. Easy to do with a classic. Okay, so rule number 1. I usually end up with 12 to 15 books when I play. So let's see what we end up with. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Mystery. Can do. Okay, after checking Goodreads to make sure it was in fact a mystery, I am going to do Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I have wanted to read this one for the longest time since I got my little hands on it, and it has a black cover. So this will be our first pick, Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I probably will read that immediately. Oh, I forgot to draw another card. I forgot to draw another card, you guys. I'll do that now since I didn't need it anyway. Translated book. Okay, my bad. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Fantasy. We like that one. 400 to 500 pages. It's a good size book. What do we have over here? Okay. So for fantasy, I am going to do has a green cover. And that is Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. This is like cozy fantasy, which is perfect for fall, for when I need a break from spooky vibes. Can you see my book stack over here? I hope you can. Rule number 3. 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Realistic fiction. Not exactly what we're going for this time of year. Contains a map. Realistic fiction. So for realistic fiction, I am slightly bending this because I'm going to do Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll, which is something of like a horror book, but it is about the female victims of a serial killer, which is realistic. I'm gonna say it's a realistic situation, and it does have a very pretty cover. I love this cover. So I've been wanting to read this since I got it as well, so we're going to do Bright Young Women. Number 4. 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Sci-fi. That's got spooky vibes. Female author. For my sci-fi one, we're gonna do, it is a little bit of a dystopian, which is a subgenre of sci-fi, but it is a sci-fi and a YA book, and that is Scythe by Neal Shusterman, and this is the first in his series, and you know, it works for spooky season given that these kids, I think, young adults, are basically being groomed to be death. So we're going to do this for 400 to 500 pages. It is 433 pages, so that fits the bill just fine. We will do this one. Rule number 5. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Suspense. Perfect. Set in a fictional world. Let's see. So for suspense, I am going to do The Return by Rachel Harrison. I read Cackle from her last year, and I absolutely loved it, so I really wanted to get her on my TBR again this fall. And I also need a pink cover to complete my book cover challenge for the year. So this one will be good, and it is a female author. Roll number 6. 7 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Mystery. Has water on the cover. Okay, it took a hot minute for me to think of something, but I've got one. And that is The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. This is a reread for me. I read this in my senior year of high school, but that was 15 years ago, so it is due for a reread, and it is very, very short, and it was in fact published before 1900. It was published in 1886. So we will do The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Rule number 7. 2. 1, 2. Folklore and fairy tales. Has a purple cover. Okay, for folklore and fairy tales, I am actually going to do an ebook. I am going to do Red as Flame by Anthea Sharp. This is the 3rd and final book in the Darkward trilogy, and I'm going to do this for Set in a Fictional World as It Is. Let's be a little placeholder there. Roll number 8. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Reading list. Let me, well, I guess I don't have to fetch me one of those. Let me see. Let's see. Has space, stars, or planets on the cover. Got it. I had to get this somewhere on the TBR because this is my only book that has anything to do with senses for the Buzzwordathon for senses, and that is The Wheel of Time, The Eye of the World, Book 1. This is by Robert Jordan, and it does in fact, well, it actually might have a map. Oh, it has a map as well. Okay, I'm going to take that one. Contains a map. So this does fit reading list for me. I do keep a list of my Buzzwordathon reads in my journal. This works perfectly, even though it is very chunky. A lot of the books on my TBR right now are quite normal size, so that's not too bad. Roll number 9. 2 again. 1, 2. Another mystery. Space set. Well, it just really wants me to read something sci-fi, doesn't it? So I am gonna do The Night House by Jo Nesbo, which to me looks and sounds like an adult Goosebumps book. And this is in fact a translated book, so we will go ahead and do that. It was translated from Norwegian, so that would be fun to add to my reading map. Good enough. Roll number 10. 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Nonfiction. Published between 1950 and 1970. Okay, let's see what we have. So for my nonfiction pick, we're going to do a memoir, and that is In Order to Live, A North Korean Girl's Journey to Freedom by Yeonmi Park. I'm sorry if I said that wrong, but I'm going to include the subtitle as part of the title just so I could fit something in, because I really had to stretch to get something here. But I bought this book last year after I read The Orphan Master's Son, which is set in North Korea, and I just went cuckoo and bought a bunch of memoirs to read more about the people of this country. So this sounds super interesting to me. I've been putting it off for a while, so I think it's a good time to jump in. That'll also be good for nonfiction November. Probably read it in November. Roll number 11. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Historical fiction. Has an ugly cover. For historical fiction, I'm gonna do Hour of the Witch by Chris Bohjalian? I'm sorry, I'm bad with names. And we're gonna do this one for historical fiction with an ugly cover, because I don't like this cover at all. It is very plain and not fun. So this does work for me. More witchy books. Roll number 12. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Horror. Yes. Has blood or gore on the cover. Could that be more perfect? No competition on this one. I'm gonna do A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson, which has a smear of blood over her eyes. This is, of course, a horror blood romance book. Whatever. I'm reading this one. Roll number 13. 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Reading list again. That's more than one. Has a reptile or amphibian on the cover. Roll number 14. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Young adult. Has a brown or tan cover. Young adult. We weren't planning on that. Okay, I really wasn't planning on reading this one, but it'll be a nice little wild card thrown into all of these similar books, and that is What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez. I really should look these names up. But it does have reptiles on the cover, it has crocodiles on it, and it is a YA book. So we will do this, and it'll be a nice little escape break if I feel like I'm burning out on spooky books. Roll number 15. 10. Perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Dystopian. Last pool. Has a weapon on the cover. Dystopian. Alrighty. So to round out my picks for dystopian, I'm going to go with A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess, which is a perfect little novella to wrap this up, and I'm going to do published between 1950 and 1970. So that is a sweet little addition, and I will now pull my late find. All right, for my late find, we're going to pull from my TBR jar and hope that it's nice to me and doesn't make me read something 3 million pages long. Let's see. Okay. Give it a stir, give it a plunge, give it a pull. What did we get? The Wizard of Oz. Well, you know what? I like The Wizard of Oz. I guess that works. Let me go get it. Okay, odd choice, but all right, we'll roll with it. So I have these special editions of the Wizard of Oz books that come in volumes. So this is the first 3 books, which are The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, The Marvelous Land of Oz, and Ozma of Oz. We'll see if I just, like, I read The Wonderful Wizard of Oz a few years ago, so maybe I'll just reread that one quickly, or I know I read it in like a day the first time I read it, so maybe I'll make my way through the whole book. We'll see how I feel, because I do already have 15 other books on my TBR, plus whatever else I need to fit in here. So we'll see. I might just reread The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, or I will read this whole book. Stay tuned to find out. What a game, you guys. That Well, I guess that went, pretty well. I think that went pretty well. I don't have any ridiculous chunky books on here, despite having many books on here. This is fine. This is fine. Okay, we could do this. Let us quickly recap what we have here. So for a mystery with a black cover, we have Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. For a fantasy with a green cover, we have Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. For realistic fiction with a pretty cover, we have Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll. For a sci-fi 400 to 500 pages, we have Scythe by Neal Shusterman. For a suspense by a female author, we have The Return by Rachel Harrison. For a mystery published before 1900, we have The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. For folklore and fairy tales set in a fictional world, we have Red as Flame by Anthea Sharp. For reading list that has a map, we have The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. For a mystery that's a translated book, we have The Night House by Joe Nesbo, and the more I look at this, the more I see goosebumps. For a nonfiction with a country in the title, we have In Order to Live, A North Korean Girl's Journey to Freedom by Yeonmi Park. I'm so sorry if I say your name wrong. For a historical fiction with an ugly cover, we have Hour of the Witch by Chris Bohjalian? Oh, whatever. For a horror with blood or gore on the cover, we have A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. For a YA pick with reptiles on the cover, we have What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez. Ibanez? I will look these up next time. A dystopian published between 1950 and 1970, we have A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. And for my late find, we have the first book in the Wizard of Oz series, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, or the Complete Collection Volume 1, which is the first 3 books by L. Frank Baum. We will see how up to that I am. And that will conclude our pretty healthy TBR. Now remember that this is for 2.5 months, not 1 month. That is impossible for my life. So I will see you all again in my wrap-up. That'll be coming in the next few days, probably on the 1st of September. I usually do them on the 1st, my wrap-up for August and what my TBR for September. So take care until then. Enjoy your spooky season. Enjoy your spooky reads. Let me know what you're reading this season, what fall reads you'll be getting into, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye!